Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on this wonderfully sunny evening. Great pleasure tonight to hand over to Fabrizio from a Spiritist Society to handle all the introductions for this evening's event. So Fabrizio, please.
Thank you, Lawrence. Good evening, everybody. A warm and welcome to those who are joining us by Facebook for tonight's talk by Jussara Korngold, who is joined with us live online from the United States to talk to us on the truths about mediumship. Thank you very much indeed, Jussara. It's an honor for us and a pleasure to have you share your teaching with us tonight. For those that don't know me, I'm Fabrício Assunção, coordinator of the Spiritist Society of Bournemouth, and I'm very pleased that the Society co-hosts this event with Poole Christian Spiritualist Church. This is just one of a series of events resulting from the fraternal collaboration between our two organizations. Our warm thanks go to Lawrence Saville and our friends at the church in Poole. Let me tell you briefly about the Spiritist Society of Bournemouth. We formed the group about 6 years ago. Our purpose is to promote the Christian principles of Spiritism through the study and practice of Spiritist teaching as codified by the 19th century French educator Allan Kardec. We are a member of BUS, the British Union Spirit Society. We are an open group. Anybody can join. Until the current lockdown, we had our meetings every week in Bournemouth, but at present, during the lockdown, we started to get online every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to study the Gospel according to Spiritism. Also on Mondays evenings, we join online to study the Spirit's book. All these books were compiled by Allan Kardec to teach us the Spiritist doctrine and how each of us can live better lives according to Christian's principles. These online during lockdown can be accessed from any location, of course, and you are welcome to join wherever you live. If you'd like any further information, please message me. I give you a big thank you to Jussara for her talk on the truths about mediumship. She's going to give us this evening. Jussara is an author and a translator, and she works as an executive of Brazil Child Health. She is the founder and president of the Spirit Group of New York and the Spiritist Alliance for Books, which promotes Spiritism in English. Jussara is a prominent leader in the Spiritist movement. She is the president of the United States Spiritist Federation, General Secretary of the International Spiritist Council, and Executive Director of the Tri-State Spiritist Federation. Jussara, we are indeed honored to have you sharing with us here tonight, and you look forward very much to your talk. Before I hand it over to Jussara, let us pause for a brief moment of prayer, led by our co-host Lawrence Saville from the Poole Christian Spiritualist Church. Over to you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Fabrizio. Now, if you could all just join in together, please. Link in with that God of your own understanding and ask from the heart, for all things that come from the heart are where we speak our truths. Divine and infinite Spirit, we ask for your assistance and your support at this time. We ask that your love shine down upon us and that you lead us in ways to enable us to live freely, to enable us to live without hatred and fear, to enable us to live free of violence, free of poverty, free of sickness, and free of fear. All these things we ask for, we ask in and through the name of your beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Lawrence. Ladies and gentlemen, I now hand it over to Jussara Korngold for her talk on the truths about mediumship. Over to you, Jussara.
So, good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be able to do that. I was waiting for the opportunity to be with you personally, but unfortunately, everything that we are going through prevented us to be actually in the UK now. So, I'm still in the US. And this is a wonderful opportunity. I feel very blessed for being able to join you and to talk about mediumship, which is one of my favorite topics. Actually, I think it's really fascinating. There's so much for us to understand about it. And Lawrence, if you would like to show the screen already so people can see the beautiful drawings that are made by Project Image as well. Some of them we are going to be using today in our presentation. And there are so many things for us to understand and to talk about mediumship. Most of the authors, they say that mediumship is something that we cannot finish learning in just one incarnation, because even as it depends on our process of evolvement, we each of us will have different possibilities, and the more we grow, the more we expand ourselves as immortal spirits, the more probabilities of working in levels that we cannot even imagine right now will actually be happening to us in terms of mediumship. So we have programmed our presentation in splitting it in two parts. The first part, we are going to be making the presentation, and then we hope we will be sending your questions about the topic and the subject of today, mediumship. So for starters, there are, many of you already may be aware of that, but in the Medium's book, which is we in Spiritism consider to be the most important work in terms of really learn and understanding mediumship and practice it in the safe way. There we have the statement from the spirits that says that we are all mediums. So everyone who is in a certain degree influenced by spirit is a medium. So in this way, of course, we are going to find different categories of people and their perception, but we all sometimes at a certain moment in our lives, we actually kind of have this kind of intuition, presentiment, or even more things than actually just this. So mediumship is actually considered to be a very natural faculty. It will appear at a proper time when we have, because we understand that before our incarnation, we have made kind of an agreement, if we can say so, programming the main facts that are going to happen in our future reincarnation. And one of them would be actually this to determine whether we are going to be able to have this communication with the spirit world. So anytime that we are psychically, in a way, receiving those waves, those thoughts, those ideas, we should be thinking that we may be actually interpreting, receiving the thoughts of the spirits. I think this picture shows us very much how it can happen. Because in the spirits book, actually, there is a question that Kardec asks if what about the influence of spirits in our day-to-day lives? Is it really a reality? And the answer from the spirits is that they are greater than we suppose. Many times they are the ones that are guiding us. So it is in this sense that we understand that everyone has a connection with the spirits, because we can capture ideas, we can capture suggestions, we can attune with like minds. And so it is very important, and this we see a lot in Eastern philosophies as well, when they invite us to be more mindful. In this sense, it's very important, because many times we go in the hush hush of life, and we don't pay that much attention to our thoughts, to our actions, to how we are reacting to things. But it can be actually the result of an influence and not necessarily ours. And all of a sudden you stop and say, why am I doing that? Why am I thinking this? And it can be just because of what we are showing here, that how the spirit can actually in a way send their thoughts to us. But of course, when we talk about mediumship and being all of us being mediums, we have to understand that there are two levels of spirit communication. The one that is mostly common and not necessarily acknowledged by us is what we call the subliminal way, which is this one that we were talking before, when we have an idea. Oh, what a great idea I had. You were there kind of struggling, and all of a sudden all of this come to your mind, and you think, oh, I'm a genius. Of course, it's the byproduct of my mind. No, not necessarily. It's the byproduct of someone whispering in your ear, so to say. But when we talk about mediumship, and this is, how we are going to be developing our conversation from now on, we are talking more about the ostensible way of mediumship. When we have actually mediums that can be conscious, semi-conscious, or unconscious, but that they will be presenting consistent results. It's not once in a while, I woke up today with a presentiment that I shouldn't take the tube. And then you hear that there is, an accident with the tube, and say, "Oh my God, how great!" And then, 5 years from now, you're never going to have this again. So this is more on the subliminal level, but in the ostensible level, we have results that are going to be presenting on a regular basis. So another example for the subliminal kind of influence of the spirits and how we can somehow help is when we are assisting others. For instance, we may feel the urge to call a friend, and then when you call this friend, said, "Oh my God, you don't know what a blessing it is that you are calling me, because I was really in need of talking to someone." That was what we could be saying, a suggestion that came to us in the form of this subliminal mediumship. We can do that for bad things as well. When we start doing gossiping, or giving to our passions, vices too much. Not necessarily it is us that are having the urge, but it can be spirits that will have this kind of urge. Well, there is one question that everyone wants, I think, would like to ask right now. Okay, you're talking about mediumship. There is this, subliminal, ostensible, but how can I know if I'm a medium? There are so many people that comes in our community that will come with this answer, with this question. And the Kardec's answer is, until today, no diagnosis can be inferred, even approximately, that someone has that faculty. The physical signs in which some people think they see evidence are not infallible, because it can represent countless possibilities. we may have a situation like that for whatever reason you will be inspired not to do something that later on you identify as not being a good thing for you to have done anyway. Or you can have this idea of calling people, or you can even be hearing voices or living some kind of phenomena. But those kind of phenomena not necessarily mean that you are an ostensible medium. It can be the byproduct of negative spirits that may also be just willing to interfere with your life. So it's very important for us to think about it. Again, another interesting question: is there any place that mediumship is located? I'm going to translate this answer after, because it's quite complex the way we have it in the book. Mediumship is based in the physical body, which will ease the partial emancipation of the spiritual body, so the spirit of the medium recovers perception and spiritual faculties that are usually blunted by the material body. That means to say that we mediums that will reincarnate with the commitment to work with their mediumship, having a more ostensible way of mediumship, they will actually reincarnate with their physical organism prepared for that. So it is a matter of our physical body as well. So it's not just me now deciding, you know what, I would like to be a medium in this incarnation. Well, you have not programmed that before, so your physical constitution may not be well prepared for you to have ostensible forms of manifestation. What would be the signs or symptoms of mediumship? First of all, there is no place that they will choose. We may belong to a spiritual community or not. We may even not think about it at all. We may live in China, in the UK, in the US, in Brazil, whatever we live. It doesn't matter. Age is not an issue as well. Social condition, gender, none of that is an issue. It will actually appear during childhood, adolescence, youth, and even at mature age. We have the example of it, for instance, of Emanuel Swedenborg, that his first display of mediumistic phenomena was when he was 55 years old. So it can be in a spiritual center, a home, a religious temple, whatever place it can happen. We are not saying that you should be doing that. We are saying that it may manifest in different places. So signs vary to the infinite. Unexpected emotional reactions, apparent sickness, shivers, moral and or physical indispositions, excessive irritability, etc. And now you are all think, oh my God, I'm a medium. I didn't know that. I have at least 2 or 3 from this list. Don't worry, maybe you're not. Maybe it's just, especially now with this lockdown, who is not having, a bit too much of irritability, for instance, or is not, morally, meaning psychologically feeling, this kind of struggle and anxious. So we have to look for those signs when you cannot find a reasonable answer for them to be manifesting in you at the present moment. So I'm having a blessed day. Why am I that, anger right now? There is no reason for that. So that can be really the approximation or, the proximity of, let's say, companions that breathe in this kind of atmosphere and are infecting my surroundings, so to say. Another thing that many people ask about mediumship is it can make us ill. Many people, when presenting first signs of mediumship, actually they may feel some indispositions, bodily disturbances, and things that headaches. And the thing is, the mediumship will never make us ill. Like we said before, you come physically prepared for that. What can make us feel, emotional disturbances, physical disturbances, is actually the proximity of a spirit that, let's say, there is a spirit that comes near me that is completely concerned about a situation, that, unfinished business, and very anxious or even angry. I can feel this pressure, and all of a sudden I start translating the emotions, but it's not emotions that belong to me. And as soon as they go away, those emotions will go away with them. And even physically speaking, a spirit, for instance, that died from a heart attack, if they come next to us and still have not come to terms with their situation, with their passing, for instance, they can still feel the reflection of pain in their spiritual body. And by getting closer to a medium, the medium all of a sudden may actually feel the same symptoms that the spirit actually felt while alive. But it will never make you ill, much less go through any kind of state of madness, as people sometimes it exaggerates. Of course, when we are talking about the proximity of angels, archangels, the highly evolved benefactors and spirit, well, we don't want them to go away. The aura of peace and love and harmony that they bring to us is take us to such a level that we normally cannot experience when we are here on earth on a day-to-day basis. In case you are wondering, yes, I'm a medium. Yes, I feel both sides of the coin. Sometimes I feel the negative presence of spirits, and sometimes I have the blessing of feeling those kind of emotions that we are describing to you right now, and they are sublime in their nature. What happens many times, talking about this situation and how we actually feel or may feel in terms of mediumship, many times what can lead us to all this mental confusion or distress, or even this physical indispositions, is that many times when the first signs of mediumship first appears, we dismiss this, or we don't want to see all of this. We look at it with complete disinterest or indifference in relation to everything. So we will many times, because of being kind of a sponge, we will feel this emotional and physical disturbances, like we said, and not being able to control all of this. And of course, the majority of people either have never heard about anything of this kind, relation to mediumship or mediumistic phenomena, and many of them are actually have a lot of preconceived ideas, and they don't want to go to resort to what they many times will think it's a crazy business, so to say. It's only after they go after to one doctor to the next, and to and nothing actually comes to a resolve, that they will look for orientation, for guidance, for spiritual guidance. That should be something that we would be considering at this point, living in the 21st century, understanding that we are much more than just our physical body. It took decades, if not a century, for us to properly appreciate the sciences that deal with the mind, with the emotions. Now it's time for us to use the same effort to look for sciences, philosophies that deal with these spiritual issues. They are constant part of our lives. So this is why it is so important for us to have places where we will receive knowledge and understanding, and not just be with the preconceived ideas. I remember the first time someone told me, we have a practice every New Year's Eve. Most of Brazilians, I'm Brazilian, and they like to dress in white, and and if you live close to a beach, there is always something happening there, and there is the candomblé happening, and the display of different kinds of mediumship. That is not what I like that much per se. And I remember I was 13 years old, and I was in Rio de Janeiro, and then this woman, all dressed in white, with all the apparatus of a medium from Candomblé, she came to me and said, "Well, I can bring your spirit here and now," meaning. I would be at that moment at 13, the recipient of, passing a communication from the spirit. I look at her and said, "Oh my God, I don't want to be like this lady at all." So I remember that I rushed to my parents, say, "Oh, take me out of this place. I don't want to be here." So we have to understand more. We have to learn more. There is nothing for us to feel afraid. I mean, like I said, we receive communications from spirit on the day-to-day basis. When you go to sleep, you are talking to spirits. I mean, even when we are not in a sleep state, we are primarily spirits. So we are always in constant contact with a spirit. So we have to overcome this fear, but it's only through understanding. So that's why it is so important for us to have those places where we can actually gather knowledge, understanding, and have experienced people to guide us in relation to mediumship. And in terms of mediumship as well, already talking about the ostensive kind of mediumship, they can be divided in two different categories. One that we call the physical effect, meaning when they happen, everyone can witness it, regardless if you are a medium or not. And the one that we call intelligent effect, that has nothing to do with intelligence. You can even be illiterate, like we have lots of mediums that never knew how to read or write, but it's still they bring communications that can be decodified by human intellect. So in the case of physical effect, because we are talking about just the donation of our ectoplasm, of our energy for the spirits to produce the phenomena, we can be donating this energy this ectoplasm without us knowing. So if you see things happening in your house, like objects start moving around without having becoming too frightened by this phenomena, you may not assume that immediately that someone in that house is the medium provide that kind of energy. It can be one of your neighbors. It doesn't need to be in the same household. The spirits will need that kind of energy to produce those kind of phenomena, but you don't need to be the one actually providing it. So, and your, let's say it's happening in your home, is your neighbor the one that's providing it, is not even seeing the phenomena and not even knowing that that person is actually the one providing the ectoplasm for the phenomena to happen. So here we have some of the, some pictures that shows some photographs that show the manifestation of spirits. And one of the photographs, we see the ectoplasm leaving from the mouth of the medium, and the one behind the medium is actually a spirit fully materialized because of the ectoplasm. On the right, we see also a hand that materialized holding the little table for it to move from the floor. Here we have more pictures that shows how spirits can also communicate through sounds, but that we called spirit sounds or pneumotophony. So we will hear clearly the voice of the spirits. Or even they materialize a larynx in the case of this medium Leslie Flint, for the spirit to communicate in a way that everyone is going to hear. Again, those kind of spirits, you don't need to be a medium to witness them. To produce them, yes, but to witness them, everyone will be able to witness them. Here is another one very interesting form of mediumship of physical phenomena that we call direct writing or pneumatography. Is when you put apart a piece of paper, whether you put a pencil or not, it doesn't matter that much, and you leave there. Everyone, of course, is concentrating and praying, and when you take that blank piece of paper, there will be something written in it. And we are talking here about phenomena that were experienced in the 19th century. Today, I think it would be more difficult for us to actually not become skeptical in this kind of phenomena, because we know that there are other many forms of, invisible ink or something like that can actually be a hoax and not necessarily a physical phenomena. But there are many, many things. One of the greatest ones is actually the whole research of 3 years from Sir William Crookes that communicated with the spirit Kate King for 3 years. He conducted so many research. He removed hair from the spirit, hair from the medium. They were different, and actually is because of all his research that we say that the spirit weighs 21 grams, because he may conduct some research at the time of people dying, and they were 21 grams lighter than before. And again, we see another photograph of the spirit that is on the middle of the medium Chico Xavier that is fully materialized. But for enlightenment, our learning, the most important phenomena that we have is the one that we call the intelligent effect. And basically, this is the way the spirits communicate with us. We have here us incarnated And here our spiritual body, let's say that somehow we detach, and here we have the spirit. I mean, I have animation. Let's see if I can show you the animation of. So here we have the spirit, I mean, with the spiritual body. Here we have the person that is actually alive, the incarnate one, and we have the physical body and the spiritual body. So when we get into a trance, there is a dislocation, so to say, of the spiritual body together. I mean, the flickering here, it represents the spirit, and this is how the communication happens. So we have here the spirit sending the communication to our spiritual body, and this being received and translated by our physical body when we are going to either verbalize it or or put it into a paper. In terms of automatic writing that we also call psychography, it is what we consider to be one of the most important form of mediumship, because they are lasting, and we can save those messages forever. In terms of trance mediums, this is more or less how it happens. Here we have the medium. If you can see well here, how the medium in blue actually is giving the opportunity for the spirit to communicate through her using her vocal cords. And mediums can be conscious, they can be fully aware of the messages the spirits are going to convey. So it's like, I know the message even before I start speaking. Here, in terms of semi-conscious, there is a little detachment from the physical body. And when the medium detaches too much, like in this third case here, is what we call unconscious mediums, because the more we detach, we release from our physical body, the more difficult it is for us to remember what happened later, because we are living all the experience mostly fully outside of our physical body, and we are not involving our physical brain too much. So it's it's just to illustrate, because it's a more complex way things for us to understand. So some truths: not everyone that possesses mediumship in the same level is the same level of involvement. The achieved experience acquired throughout many incarnations varies from each individual. It is also a question of, what kind of spirits we are going to attune between, communications in the medium and the spirit. People that possess ostensible mediumship faculties are not the chosen of the divinity, and is neither an indication of sanctification, nor does it represent a divinatory characteristic. It is simply constitutes a manner of entering into communication with souls who have previously lived on earth. The level of respect and the intensity of devotion that mediums dedicate to the task is what will be used to appraise them. Neither magic formulas, no special rituals lead to the blossoming of mediumship. So those are a very important concept for us right now. It's not because we are a medium that we are going to be thinking that we are special. And no, we have asked for this kind of faculty. I could have asked to be a great pianist, but I said, you know what, this time I want to be a medium, and I want to do, firsthand actually understand that we are immortal, that spirits, they do exist, and I need to improve myself more. And by knowing this firsthand, I can improve myself, and I can only help others. And like we said before, it also depends on a physical constitution, that has to be previously organized. So it doesn't matter if now I wanted to be a medium, and but I didn't have this commitment before my incarnation, so it's not going to happen. So it's not, you can receive knowledge, but not necessarily you are going to act as an ostensible medium, because remember, mediums we all are. Basic guidelines: under no circumstance should mediumship development be attempted through the aid of organizations that promise fast and amazing results in just a few lessons. Like we said at the beginning, I mean, we will be spending many incarnations learning and studying. And I mean, when we learn, then our spirit hopefully evolves. It's going to have more possibilities, and then we will be working on a mediumship on a different level. In the past, normally we have instructors, we have, even gurus to guide us. But today we have to be very careful and actually use common sense and go through the study with knowledge, because it's very much like, playing with fire. It's an excellent resource, and we all know how much humanity has evolved after we finally discover, the fire and the use of fire. But it can also burn us and cause a lot of damage and destruction if not properly used. So we should never forget the mediumship development require supervision, the attention of personal guidance of someone that has moral high values and knowledge, enough knowledge to help us in this sense. And we should never engage in the practice or trying to develop mediumship by ourselves, because we understand that as spirits, there are, and the world of spirits that surround us, we have different categories of spirits. And the spirits that we consider to be the mentors, the benefactors, those that highly evolved the spirits, they are very busy. And they are not there just to answer to our whims and come for mockery, trickery, or something like that. But there are many spirits that will be willing and ready to come as you call them. And one thing is to attract this sort of spirits next to you. Another thing is to get rid of them. So be always careful in terms of that. Good advice to mediums: educate yourselves. Fight your addictions, including the mental ones. Learn to be good. Yes, we have to learn to be good because we are still not good. So it requires effort. It requires discipline. It requires us all the time to try to bring out the best that we can. Uplifting books will help us in this sense, and God, through prayer, will always provide us with the best possible condition and assistance to safely walk through this path of mediumship. And we have several books on mediumship. And remember always that the providential aim of spirit manifestation is to convince disbelievers that all does not end for human beings when their life on earth ends, and to give to believers a more correct idea regarding the future. See, and I love this last one. I think it perfectly depicts what we have to do in terms of mediumship education in each and everything. You may have the ability, you may have the faculty, and like many people think we can dispense with the the knowledge and the understanding and the studies, but we cannot, because it's a very, very complex situation, and we are dealing with the invisible. And so if you want to journey through this realm of infinite possibilities, the invisible beings. Always be careful and be sure that you know exactly what you are doing. And this is the presentation that we had for today. And I actually gonna stop sharing my screen now. And I tried my best to leave as much time possible for people to ask their questions.
Jussara, that was absolutely lovely. You know, I am always a very firm advocate. Every once in a while, we always need to go to what I call Mediumship 101. You know, because we all progress differently along our own paths. We're all right for ourselves. But I think it's so important every now and then we go right the way back to the basics. Just have a little refresher. Because we do, don't we? It's an unconscious thing. We engage people in a conversation. You start talking to them about something, and they're looking at you thinking, "What are you talking about?" Because we just forget that. So it is so good for people just to go back to that, as I call it, 101, back to the ground level. What's going on? Why we're here? What we're doing? What we're about? And then go back on. Because often, you know, where we are, we've forgotten some of the basic principles.
Yeah.
So just to be reminded of them, you think, oh, yeah, I'm not, you know. I did sort of like look away when you said about mediums have got to be good. I did think, oh, dear.
We do that with so many things in terms of our day-to-day lives. I remember that when I learned to drive, and at the beginning, I would get the car for my father and ask him, and he said, okay, go. And after a while, I saw that he was so much more concerned in giving me the car, and I said, how come, you know, in the first month that I was driving, you didn't show that much level of concern as you are showing now? I said, well, because at that time you were still careful. You still knew that you were doing with something dangerous. Now you think that you know it all, and this is when accidents happen.
Very true. Very true.
You see, with mediumship is the same. The basics. People, you know, they do not. They think, oh no, I'm a great medium. I don't need all of this. No, you do. And the more you learn, the best there you will be able to practice your mediumship.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
Cool. We have some questions that is being popped up here on Facebook. The first one is about spiritism and spiritualism. And could you tell us a little bit of the mediumship history in spiritism, from all the way from the Fox sisters to the turning table?
Okay, at the beginning of the times, there was
the time.
And I'm not joking, because normally, I mean, when I give a workshop, I say, we just need one single human incarnate, and the spirits there, we already can have the communication. So communication, mediumistic communication, is something as old as the history of humankind. And but of course, we started paying more attention to it a little later on, and when all this came about. And of course, I don't know if you know, but the words medium, mediumistic, mediumship were words actually coined by Allan Kardec for spiritism. So everyone that says those words, they are actually mentioning, you know, words that are characteristic of mediumship, which of spiritism, which does not mean that the phenomena didn't exist before. Even before the six Fox sisters, here we had the great Andrew Jackson Davis. There was a fantastic medium, and he actually also predicted the day March 31st, 1848, when the phenomena of the Fox sisters happened. here in the state of New York, where actually I live a bit farther north, when that spirit start communicating with them. From there, it's very interesting. Everything that happened, the phenomena start attracting attention. We have several articles that Allan Kardec wrote in some of his publications on the Spiritist Review that we already have almost 6 years in English, translated into English, from French to English, and where he describes the whole phenomena that were happening here in the U.S. and how those phenomena wind up going to Europe and taking hold, especially on the UK and of course France, and giving rise to more complex and profound studies that led to the result of the spiritist codification as well as we have. And since then, I mean, I think we have grown and learned so much about it, and we have to continue in this path and expanding it even more for people, and explaining it more for people, so that they will not feel afraid of facing this kind of phenomena.
Cool. I have got loads of questions. God, they are really interesting now. So the next one is, how do you educate and prepare mediums in Spiritism?
Well, we don't need to actually practice medium exercises on mediumship, because we understand that the most important thing in terms of for you to become a good medium, two things actually. The first one is for you to really go after at least the basic knowledge of mediumship. And the second one is actually understanding that we will attract spirits. There are going to find an interest in coming to us according to our desires. So like we said before, if I just want to have mediumship for, trivial purposes, I'm going to be connecting mostly with spirits of this nature. If I want to use mediumship to learn, to enlighten myself, and to somehow help in the others' enlightenment as well, then I'm going to be having communication or be more in tune with the spirits of a different category. So mostly we advise people that would like to pursue this this discovery about mediumship, not necessarily to try to be practicing the phenomena, getting into concentration or hand and paper inside, trying to see if they are going to write something, but mostly work on yourself, on your inner transformation. And if a phenomena is actually about to happen through you, then you can be sure that it's going to be in the best possible way, and in the best safer way as well, for you to continue in this path. So we normally have studies, like I say, to give the basics, and then we have our mediumship meetings, and as soon as people are prepared to through the basics and committed to this kind of task that we say, they are invited to come and in this way start then practicing, exercising the phenomena.
Cool. Another question that is quite related to this one that you just answered is, the question says, do good spirits actively help mediums to develop their mediumship skills?
Oh, absolutely. They are working with us all the time. That's why, sometimes even because of the nature of our studies here, Our studies of mediumship, because we understand that to learn about mediumship, it's something that each and everyone can learn. You don't need to be a medium to do that, and you do not need to fear to become one if you don't want to, and if you, like I said before, didn't come to this life with the commitment of become one. But understanding that there is life after death, that there are spirits around us, that they can influence our thoughts, how all those things can happen, can be also very instructive for all of us. So I'd say while we are studying the good spirits, already knowing our intention, our character, and really what we want to do with that, they will be start even working on our physical constitution to help us and to provide us with better tools from when the time comes for us to be able to manifest the presence of the spirits.
So the next question actually is going to go to both of you. So I'm going to ask Lawrence to open up his screen. So that, here you go. So the question is, are spiritists and spiritualist mediums the same?
Ladies first, because I was just thinking exactly that. I wonder how it works in spiritists. So
Okay.
Over to you first.
We're all human beings. There is, like we said before, right at the beginning, I mean, we all have the same red blood, the same physical constitution. It doesn't matter, if the skin varies in colors, or if we are from north or south or east or west. We are all children of God, and we all have the same possibilities. We may have a different approach, but it doesn't mean that one is better than the other, or that one is the only one that is right. I have a friend that wrote a book. His name is Regis de Moraes. That he starts his book by saying there are 5,000 religions in the world, but do not worry, yours is the right one. So, we're not here to discuss that the tiny difference. How do you prepare your apple tart or something like that? No, I mean, as long as we have the same, I think, the same understanding, the same desire to promote goodness, to promote involvement, I think regardless from where exactly do we come, we are going to have the same result.
Definitely, I agree 100%. When we work as mediums, as you quite rightly say in the topic of tonight, we are all mediums. We are all inspired by spirit, whether it be conscious or unconscious, it matters not. We can be mediums of music, of philosophy, of writing, of painting, and it's all inspired. So we do, don't we? We like our boxes. Yes. As physical beings. Mm-hmm. We need to put things in its box. So there we go. It's all nice and tidy. When actually it's just, yeah, we all do it. Everybody is a medium. There is no good. There is no evil. There is just different degrees of understanding and openness and compassion. We're dealing now with the divine within, and this is sometimes we get a little bit stuck, on this divinity within. We always try and project ourselves. I want to be more spiritual. I want to be mediumistic. I want to be prophetic. You already are. You already are all those things. We if you're thinking it, if it's there in your mind, you are there. And it's like an illusion. It's like I want to reach back in my picture and touch the lectern in the corner of the room. I'm already there. It's we need more to sit in our own power and link in more with ourselves. And the more you do, the more you understand, and the less we want to put things into a box, and less we want to put a label on something, because we're dealing with the unlimited. So do you know what? Sit back and enjoy the ride.
There is one work in particular that is very characteristic when we talk about mediumship in spiritism, which is the assistance to suffering or low-level spirits. That is not so common in other spiritualist philosophies, like Spiritism is one of them. But it doesn't mean that we are different. It's like, if we are all doctors, but we have different specialties, and we can work, like you said, we can work a certain philosophy, spiritualist philosophy may work more in one of the areas, another one in another of the areas, like we have, specialties when we are talking about medical doctors, is the same thing, but they are all doing the same thing. They are all trying to bring about, this knowledge of the spiritual realm, and they are all trying to bring about this importance for us to have this understanding and do something about ourselves, bettering ourselves as well, and serving in the best way that we can. So regardless of different practices we may have, as if they are always with the intention of doing the best that we can, they are all great.
Very true. We work with spirit, don't we, to learn the fundamentals, the laws of nature, the laws of spirit, the laws of the physical, and understanding those and living within those and keeping that balance and that harmony with it. This is what spirit are trying to help us with, to bring that balance in, that understanding. Mm-hmm. And as you quite rightly say, every medium is different. It's like a doctor. I know through mediumship, a big part of mediumship, from my perception, is the healing energy.
Yeah.
It's the healing that you are giving to the person receiving the message here in the flesh, because it may be that little piece of information they want to find peace. But in as much is healing also for the spirit giving it, because it's their opportunity to talk. And their avenue then to be able to relay that. So that healing energy flows both ways with that. I think most of our philosophy, in one form or another, comes down to the basic art of healing, because healing is just giving of yourself in love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next question here says, do you think that we are having more mediums of intelligent effects than of physical effects nowadays?
Yeah, well, I do believe so, because we understand that at the beginning we needed, everything was so new, like we were saying, basically after the Fox sisters is when the whole world woke up again for the reality of spirits and the possibility of spirit communication. So we still needed a lot in terms of impressing our senses, so that we could be convinced somehow or see extraordinary phenomena. But nowadays, of course, although those extraordinary phenomena, they are really extraordinary, we want something more. We want to, okay, I already know the spirits are there. I already know they can materialize. They can move objects. They can clap their hands, materialize their hands. But tell me about your life in the spiritual world. I wanted to know what is expecting you. And so I think we are more now, at least in certain countries for sure, with this possibility of having mediums of intelligent phenomena. And even that, like I said, is going to evolve. So the spirits tell us that more to the future, we will not even perceive that much like you can perceive in certain trans mediums and the trans communication, that the mediums even change the tone of voice, the features, etc. Because it's going to be much more like, a conversation of minds, and much more through intuition. But definitely, I think this is a reality, and each time more we are advancing to that, which does not mean that we will not still have mediums of physical effect. Lawrence, for instance, just mentioned his ability of, being a medium of healing, and healing is a mediumship of physical effect. So those kinds of mediumship we welcome, we need them, and we want them to stay with us for a bit more, because we all need this kind of mediumship as well. But the other ones more related to physical phenomena, not necessarily.
Thank you. Before we bring the event to a closure, is there any final considerations from Lawrence or for yourself?
Well, I'm really happy. I hope this has been a productive presentation to you, and I'm always willing to join efforts to be with you, and I'm looking forward to be there in person. Now that I know the beautiful place you have there, Lawrence, that's amazing. I want to see that. I want to be there.
Yeah, indeed. We were looking forward very much to meeting you in person. Unfortunately, as I said, these things have been postponed. They're not cancelled, they're just postponed. But yes, you'll be welcomed into Poole with open arms, Jussara. Beautiful evening. Thank you. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. And I always add this caveat. We are seeing amazing things happening with our movements, our own individual lives at this time. They are truly amazing, but we always must be so mindful of why we are operating in this way and keep that in the fore of our mind. But the fact that we can be here now in Poole on a Friday night and get the wonderful knowledge and information from you from New York we could never have done that. And we probably would never have tried that had we not had the choice taken from us.
Yes.
So we were all thrown in at the deep end, and some really astounding things are coming out of it. But as I say, we must always be mindful of why we are here at this time.
So whenever you need me, I'm here as well. It will be my pleasure to be with you more times, okay?
Wonderful. Yes, I will hold you to that.
Oh, please do so.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for this evening then. Thank you everyone who is watching us online and contribute with your questions. And now I ask Lawrence to close the event with a prayer.
Thank you, Fabricio. So if once more, please, we can join together, go into the heart chakra there, all love, all thought, all purpose and all intent flows from. And join in with that God of your own understanding. And give thanks for the things that we do have in our life. For each and every head here, we have something to be grateful for. Help us to concentrate on being productive, on being positive, of uplifting those vibrations, of not harboring thoughts that are negative, that bring down, but only send out that love, that light, the compassion, love and healing, and to treat others always as we would treat ourselves, and to hold that dear truth that this life is one expression of the continuous thread of life that has lasted forever and will last forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Lawrence. So just before we all say goodbye, if you want to see Jussara next year, so Jussara will be in London for our third British Spiritist Congress on the 15th and 16th of May in 2021. So we will have Jussara around next year. So come along and join us on our 3rd British Spiritist Congress next year. And once again, thank you very much, Lawrence. Thank you very much, Jussara. And I think, Lawrence, do you want to close it?
That's it. That's everything. I'm quite happy. It's nice not to be in the driving seat for a change. Thank you all for joining us tonight, and thank you all those that I know will watch on Catch Up. One of the amazing things that is happening, these programs, once they have aired, they are always accessible on the Spiritist of Bournemouth group page and the Paul Christian Spiritualist Church page. And it's amazing. You'll see the viewing numbers creep up and up and up over the coming days and weeks. So yeah, we're all pioneers a little bit at this time. We've had each of our different movements have had their own leap forward times, and we are in one of those leap forward times. We are writing history, so let's hope it's a good one that we write. But thank you all for joining us. It's been wonderful. Jussara, I'm totally in love with you, darling. I think you are great big spiritual hug all the way across the ocean there. Not to you, Fabricio. Oh, what's he like?
I'm getting jealous. I want a hug too.
No, you can't have a hug. No, you haven't earned one. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anybody, any final words? Nope.
Not for me. Thank you.
Take care. Look after yourselves. Yeah. Stay safe. Stay sane. And remember, the best person to give you guidance is yourself. All right. So lots of love to all of you. Jussara, thank you, thank you, thank you. Brilliant.